Welcome back, dear listeners, to another enlightening episode of Let's Discuss Cafe. Today, we are thrilled to continue our conversation with Rukmani Sinha. She is an accomplished legal counsel currently at Aditya Birla Finance Limited. With a rich background spanning both litigation and non-litigation sectors, Rukmani's expertise in digital lending space, compliance, and contract management is invaluable. In part 1, we delved into her initial journey and experiences in the legal field. We also discussed how she transitioned from an LPO to an in house counsel role. Today, we will explore more about her insights into the evolving landscape of law, fintech, and technology. Hey, Rukmini, welcome back. Thanks for coming again on our podcast. How was your experience the first time?
Thanks for having me again. And the experience was very nice and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I think I did perform well. And that's why I'm here for the second
That,
time.
that's what we have been listening as well. So,
So, yeah.
last time we delved into starting your professional career as a human rights lawyer, then making a transition to an LPO, then from that an LPO to as an in-house counsel or legal manager. Now, in this podcast, I want to go more deeper into your work as an in-house counsel. So my first question is, in your opinion, in your broad experience part, what is the most important job of an in-house counsel?
The most important job of an in house counsel starts with knowing the products, line of businesses, and services that the organization is catering to. And, connecting and networking and having an amicable relationship with different departments is very important because only then you get the required cooperation and understanding from people. And thirdly, all the laws which are ancillary and incidental to your line of business, you should have a good knowledge or at least some kind of knowledge wherein you can build further on, something on those lines. And of course, you should have a good communication skill and negotiation power because it comes handy a lot of times. Your first negotiation is with your internal stakeholders and only then with the external stakeholders. I mean, one should need to have a very good communication skill, which is backed by the sound knowledge of the subject matter.
Wow. Let's talk about the buzzword these days, generative AI. So my question is how legal departments are adapting to the fact that other than them, everybody else is using generative AI as much as they can.
I think I'm a very traditional kind of a lawyer, so I'm pretty satisfied and happy that we are not using AI to that effect as it is being used by people in other profession. Because see, we are still encountering events or episodes where the law is constantly building, developing, changing. Because it is said that the law of a particular state reflects the kind of the society that we live in. So the law is always evolving and changing. And we all know, and with my limited understanding, you can correct me if I'm wrong. The AI is only able to deliver as much as we are able to feed in the intelligence in them, and we can only feed in the intelligence in them as much as we have. So we don't know exactly what is going to happen 5 years down the line or 10 years down the line. And therefore, these AI tools cannot be provided in intelligence with respect to that. So, in that way, I think for a legal profession, AI will not be a very foolproof kind of a solution, and I'm pretty happy about it. At least I have my job.
Yeah, see, the thing is, I think any AI tool is not trying to replace lawyers. But the fact is, and as you rightly said, that you can't give them the intelligence we already don't have, right? But
Absolutely.
where AI tools really excel is imagine in your case, in your whole lifetime, how many contracts can you read? 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 10,000 maximum. An AI tool can do that in 5 minutes. It can read all those 5,000 to 10,000 contracts and gather learnings from that. And then kind of give it a predictive analysis. Okay, this is where, if I have seen hundreds of times when this kind of clause is written, when this kind of a clause is used, there's 30% more chance of
Yeah.
litigation. So,
So,
yeah,
no, no. So, as far as the concept of predictability is concerned, and thrashing out the unnecessary things or screening it, I agree with you. It can help to some extent, But as far as the core legal working is concerned, I think that is something which is irreplaceable.
Absolutely. And it should be, right? At the end of the day, it is the job of the in-house counsel to take the responsibility, right? But at the same time, what I obviously notice is that there are two type of in-house counsel. First are overworked, and the second was heavily overworked, right? So when you have so many things to take care of, I have heard stories where in-house counsels consultation has been sought for drafting simple letters, right? So when every other department is pulling legal department in so many ways, right? So what I feel is that, the mundane work should be delegated so that the human mind is preserved or saved for more strategic work or more high impact issue, right? Like a confidentiality clause, even though we heavily debate, and in certain cases, it can lead to disastrous efforts. But there's certain clauses which are not that important for the contract. So why let the human mind be, wasted on such things?
Okay, so I would say that I partly agree with you,
Yeah.
but partly I will have another opinion. So the thing is that AI can be handy when, as you said, that we have to just, screen or thrash out the details or things which is not essential for a contract. But
Right.
I think, and somebody once told me that, law is the ordinary prudence of an ordinary man.
Yeah.
So apart from generating or feeding the AI tools with the intelligence, I think as an in-house counsel we are also educating the people in different other departments. So a lot of times the basic work in a draft which they can just ordinarily do or make. I mean, these people are making an effort to do that, and I mean, it's not just educating the AI but also educating the people working around you. And I mean, yes, artificial intelligence is being used now in respect of the contract lifecycle management tools, where basic annotation and highlighting the clauses which has been fed in a certain way with them is helping it out in some way or the other. So yeah, I mean, partly I agree that there could be certain work which can be undertaken by these tools depending on what kind of intelligence we feed in them, and remaining can be done by the council. I think it's just a hit and trial method again. So we are
Absolutely.
also evolving, so we should adapt and evolve with the same.
Absolutely. So, you spoke about training the other people around you. So, in your experience, what is one thing you want other departments or other people around you to know that has been really hard for you to, teach people around you?
See, I think in a contract, basic things that I would expect my business people or people from other departments to really take care of is the commercials, because we are not involved in the commercial discussions. So we really don't know what are the kind of numbers that they agree to. So before they actually send us the document, if they can provide us with a product note or the points of agreements on a commercial standpoint, so that when we see clauses built around that, we don't have to go back and forth to our business people and they don't have to come back to us. At one point in time, we can just read it through the note, understand it from there, and just finish it off and send it to them. So that sort of lessens the burden, and it also ensures that the drafts can be shared with them in an effective and a short term. So that is one kind of a learning or understanding I would actually expect, and I expect from our other counterparts, and I always try to ensure that. Second thing is, when certain basic comments are given, this shouldn't be sounding offending to other department people, but a lot of times we are given the reason that this is a legal language we don't understand. So I feel that it is very important for people in other departments to get out of that, mental understanding or that kind of apprehension that there is something like a legal English. We are not pronouncing judgments in Privy Council, and we're not practicing in the King's Court. Even then, there is nothing called as a legal language. Everything is in plain English. If there is anything which is supposed to be very technical from a legal standpoint, of course, we are there to help them and to make them understand. But a lot of things which they can deal on their own, because it's simple language, let's just try not to complicate that by merely stating that it's a legal language. So yeah, that's my.
I would like to argue on behalf of those people. Everything is not in simple language, to be honest. Right?
No, no, I agree. I agree. But out of that 100%, there would be at least 30% or
Yeah,
25% wherein you should not be stating that it is legal English. I mean, I know people are
absolutely.
very scared and apprehensive of touching a legal document because of the repercussions that it brings. But slowly and steadily, when we try to educate and build that confidence in those people, they should also take the initiative of not quoting them as legal English or legal language.
Absolutely. One of the things that I often hear from in-house counsels is we can't just remain in the legal silo, right? We have to understand the business as well.
Absolutely.
But I feel I have rarely seen any manager, sales manager, or head of other departments who are saying that we can't remain in our silo, right? And we have to understand the law as well. I know a lot of salespeople who understand contracts really well, but they are in minority. And the problem that you're sharing is very common. In fact, one of the tool that I'm working on is
Mm.
called Legal Front Desk for in-house counsels, because like you, a lot of in-house counsels have been inundated by trivial and non-consequential legal questions, right?
Yeah.
So that legal front desk, what it does, it actually filters out those things. So whatever is coming in, it will see if it is a minor issue, if it is a little complicated issue. So
Mm.
it will filter out those things. It will create an answer and
Mm.
send it to the in-house counsel or their junior for just the final approval. So they will just have a look at it, because even though these questions are simple, but
Mm.
every question is different, right? So,
Absolutely.
and in order to make other people understand about the general law, you have to speak their language. So
Correct.
that's a very common problem that we see in in-house counsels. And I'll tell you that this is still to a lesser extent here in India. If you speak to US counsels, there everything is legal. Like, law is so much complicated. I know a friend who has been sued. He's a founder of a startup. He was interviewing this person. He was sued because he asked too much personal questions. Right. So this is again a very common thing, right? So in India, we are very used to asking, right? Okay, who is at your home? What is, but in US, you can be sued for these stuff.
Yeah, because it's breach of privacy.
Right.
And I think we are also slowly and steadily
As a
building
ground of
on that trend.
discrimination, as a ground of
Yeah, yeah. And also breach of privacy because you're just trying to intrude into the personal space of the person.
right. Moving on to the next question. Any particular regulation or compliance that is specific to financial industry that you have noticed?
Lot of compliances and regulations for financial industry. I mean, one of them is a very basic one, which is related to outsourcing of financial services by the regulated entities. It is a circular by RBI. And I think RBI is very, very aggressively coming out with regulations, changes, and actions on various kind of organizations. So high time for financial institutions to be really wary of what they're doing and what they're not
Right.
doing.
Absolutely. And financial industry is very important, right? People are sharing so many important stuff like their, identity proofs and number of. It's a good thing that RBI is pushing for these regulations. And we
Yeah.
have recently seen what happened in the Paytm case, right? So how can young startups who have a very small team ensure that they are complying with these regulations?
I mean, at the first place, I would not like to acknowledge or comment on whatever happened with any organization. There are different reasons, and
Absolutely.
all that we are able to understand and fathom is what we are reading in news or what
Yeah.
we are hearing from people. So, barring that, as a general advice for the startups or any organization for that matter is concerned, is that if you are required to be conservative in terms of interpreting a regulation, in order to ensure that your credibility, your license, and your legal existence is maintained, it is always better to be prudent and conservative that ways. Because just on the basis of expanding your business or marking your presence, if you are sort of threatening the very own credibility or identity of the organization, then I think all the efforts are going to be redundant. It's of
Right.
no use. So be very conservative if you have to interpret any regulation or law.
Wow, great advice there. And in your opinion, what is the right time for startups to hire their first lawyer?
I think, I mean, a lawyer is a very important, rather, I would, in that case, I wouldn't undermine any department. So, a lawyer should be with the founders right from the inception of the thought process,
Yeah.
because a lot of things are precautionary, preventive, rather than, dealing with the situation when it comes handy. So, it is very important that at the very outset, we take all the measures which can ensure that any kind of risk doesn't arise. And if it arises, the losses or the harm is minimized.
Yeah.
So that is what it is.
Yeah. Without taking names, what I'll tell you, because I go to so many startup events and there's so many people who approach me with their startup idea. So I obviously can't take names, but I can tell you the share. Like if I'm hearing 10 ideas, one is definitely illegal and the other one is partially illegal, right? So I completely concur with you that right from the inception of the idea, it's a good idea to consult a lawyer, which may not appear so important to founders at that time who have so many things to figure out, right?
Yeah, yeah. You can actually just consider it as an investment of
Right.
resources, which can give you, an ensured return. So it's just like if you're stepping into something, there is only a person who's skilled at it and who is authorized to advocate or guide you on that particular front. So it is very important to have them on board right from the inception of the organization.
Wow. So we spoke about so many regulations, and the regulations are coming every day, which are affecting your company. So as an in-house counsel, how you stay abreast of all the legal developments?
So, I mean, it would be more from an organizational standpoint also and an individual standpoint also.
Yeah.
So, in the organizations, I think there are teams who, on a regular basis, keep on updating about the regulations or the changes in the regulations. But at the same time, it is your individual effort as well, where you can be subscribed to certain kind of updates or certain search engines which can constantly keep you updated with respect to any changes in law or regulation. And I think LinkedIn is absolutely a very good platform for the same.
Wow, great advice there. We spoke about staying abreast of statutory developments, and we also touched upon the importance of legal research, especially in the early part of your career. So, any tips and tricks that you would like to share with our young listeners?
As I stated earlier, there is no shortcut to learning and learning by the text that is available. So, as a lawyer, I don't know about the other professions, and I'm sure that it is similar in the other professions as well. But if you really want to be at pace with your counterparts, your colleagues in the same profession, it is very important that you should have something over and above of what other people have, which is, of course, knowledge. And there couldn't be anything equivalent to knowledge. You can only speak when you know something about it. Otherwise, you're just beating around the bush, honestly. So it's very important that you develop and mandatorily develop the habit of reading and keeping yourself at pace with what is happening, especially in your field. If you're associated to one line of business, you should know what developments are happening in that space, if not all. There's no shortcut to reading and learning. And it's quite interesting. If you develop it as a hobby, as a habit, and as an art, there is no challenge as such.
Wow, great advice. Any tools that you really like to use?
Not really. I prefer, even if it's court case, I prefer reading it on the website of the High Court, Supreme Court, or District Court, as the case may be. But for case laws and updates, I think Live Law and Bar and Bench is really nice that ways. It gives you a gist sometimes, which is really helpful. And I would say that I'm slightly technologically challenged on this aspect, but I
No
prefer reading
surprise there.
it. Yeah.
No worries there. So, yeah, it's the time for rapid fire round again. So, my first question is, if you could use only one law for the rest of your career, what would it be?
Constitutional law.
Okay, great insightful answer there. The next question is, if animals could sue, which species do you think would be most litigious?
Dog.
Yeah. How can you leave me at home?
Yeah.
What's your favorite legal TV show or drama or movie for that?
I'm sorry, I don't watch much.
You haven't watched Suits or there was this movie, right? In which, anyways, let's move on to the next question. Does having a law degree help you win arguments at home?
No, no. I don't like mixing my professional and personal life.
But you have the same skill set, right? Yeah, yeah.
Yes, I mean, I could say that it is not the cause and effect. Rather, this was something which was there in me and which actually persuaded me to pursue this profession. So,
Yeah. No, I think being a lawyer is used against me because even when I'm winning an argument, on the
there is an
merit of the
apprehension
argument,
and biasness, yes.
they say like you are winning this argument because you're a lawyer. You know, you just know how to argue.
But
Basically, your
when
point
in
is
the
right.
but when in the family you also have a lawyer with whom you're arguing, I don't think that stands true for both of them.
That's true, right? If you could face any lawyer, dead or alive, in a court, which one would it be?
That's a very tough question. I would like to argue opposite Ram Jethmalani.
Yeah, good choice there. So yeah, as we are running out of time, we have just time for one more question. In the end, do you have any advice for aspiring lawyers who are interested in pursuing a path similar to yours?
See, law and a role of an in-house counsel is just like mathematics. If you get the formula right, everything is not that tough for you.
Yeah.
But getting the formula right is important, and that only comes by reading and understanding. And law as a profession is beautiful because it is the only profession which gives you the leverage of interpreting and coming to a particular understanding, which is not there in any other profession. So use your imagination, use your creativity, but only when you have a knowledge about it. So just read, learn. That's all.
Wow. Great insights there. Rukmani, thanks for coming on the podcast. It was really interesting and enlightening.
Thank you so much for having me, and thanks a lot to all the listeners for you know listening to me. And it was such a pleasure to be there. Thank you so much.
It's completely our pleasure.
Like.
So this wraps up the part two of our insightful conversation with Rukmani Sinha. Her expertise and perspectives have certainly given us a deeper understanding of the challenges and opportunities in the field of law. We hope you also found today's episode as enriching as we did. If you missed the part one, make sure to check it out for more on Rukmani's professional journey and foundational experiences. And thank you, dear listeners, for joining us once again. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and stay tuned for more exciting episodes on Let's Discuss Cafe. This is your host, Avinash Tripathi, signing off. Until the next time, stay curious, stay caffeinated.